Good morning. It is 10:45 a.m. on Sunday, December 27th, 2015. I'm Christiana Ellis, and I've been enjoying several days in a row of sleeping in. This is 5 more minutes. Yeah, quality sack time. It's good. It's good. Um, so yesterday, I managed to leave the house. I went to the movies. I saw Star Wars: The Force Awakens a second time, and then also the last Hunger Games movie, Mockingjay Part 2. So seeing Star Wars the second time was good. In fact, I think, it's interesting because it's going to help settle the movie into place, right? Because on the one hand, there's not that same rush of discovery because I know what's going to happen now. But also because I'm not hanging on what's going to happen, I'm able to appreciate all these new little details. I still won't spoil anything, don't worry about that. But one of the interesting things that was nice is some of the things that bothered me the first time. It's not that I have like it's not like all of my questions are actually answered or something and I just didn't realize it. It was more just a matter of now because I just have factored that into my expectation. Like I just know that's what happens now. That a lot of those things really didn't even bother me at all the second time. It's just like, well, nope, that's what happens now. So, enjoyed it a second time, confident of things moving forward. And it just makes me excited to do more Star Warsy things. I've had my eye on that Lego Star Wars Millennium Falcon, but it's so expensive. And yeah, okay. I've not chosen to buy it yet, but it looks cool. Anyway, I also saw Mockingjay Part 2, which is a few weeks old at this point, so, uh, it's not exactly a brand new, hot off the presses review. But I have seen and enjoyed all of the Hunger Games movies. I read the books too. And especially as we get into, 2 and 3, I actually kind of like the movies more than the books just because while it's realistic to have Katniss be suffering from PTSD, um, it's not necessarily fun to read about while we're stuck in her head in the books. Whereas the slightly distanced perspective from the movie, where we can watch and empathize with the character without really being stuck going through it with her, um, works for me. Plus, just there's a lot of action. It's good. So I liked the last one a lot. I mean, there's definitely, I won't spoil this one either, I guess, but there's aspects of the story that are not especially uplifting. It's a little bit like with the PTSD thing, is that it's realistic and I think meaningful, but we're not going to get a Hollywood classic happy ending, or at least not all the way. It makes it complicated. Um, but I think that there's something good about how that story shows how wars and rebellions and stuff are complicated. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, let's say you've got a bad guy, President Snow. He's ruling the Panem and he's a bad guy and he needs to go. You really need to get rid of that guy. But then what? Maybe the person who was best at getting rid of the last guy is not necessarily the same as the person who will be best to rule afterwards. And do you really need one person to rule, or do you have some other system? Changing systems is hard. It's complicated. And that sort of being, like I think stories can be at their best when they help you gain a new perspective on the real world. And I can't help but think that this story, I mean, like it tells me something that I feel like I knew already, but I can imagine younger people reading these books or seeing these movies and having this be sort of an example for them of how these sorts of political military conflicts are messy. And it's really not always obvious what you need to do. And sometimes the good guy side does bad guy things. And sometimes the bad guy side does good guy things. And it's not always black and white. And how do you sort that out? It's hard. And maybe it's all the more reason that you decide to maybe try to talk through things, because the only way to make something permanent is to kill somebody. So anyway, I liked the movie. I thought it was well done, but of course, like I said, it's not, it's not exciting and fun and uplifting like Star Wars was. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow for 5 more minutes.